2023 Volkswagen Tiguan, courtesy of Hanover Volkswagen in Hanover, PA. For more information on their inventory, please feel free to check out the link in the description box below. And so we are in this one today because the Tiguan, believe it or not, actually has third row availability, which you can't say the same for when it comes to the CR-V or the RAV4. Also, you get a 4-year, 50,000 mile bumper-to-bumper warranty. And again, you can't say the same for the CR-V and the RAV4 because traditionally it's 3 years, 36,000 miles. So that is pretty cool as well. So ultimately, in this video, we will be testing out and going over everything about this one, from acceleration to braking, steering feel, ride quality, sound system, exhaust clip, all that fun stuff. So having said all of that, what do you guys say? Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, let's start with pricing itself. There will be a few different trim levels for the 2023 Tiguan. First one being the S, starting at $26,950, SE for $30,580, SE R-Line Black for $33,310, which by the way is the one we have today. Then there is the SEL R-Line for $37,680. So all of those trim levels, with the exception of that last one, come standard with front wheel drive. Last one comes standard with all-wheel drive, but you can add all-wheel drive to any of those other trims if you wanted to do that. Simply add $1,500 to any of those prices. By the way, pricing for 2023 is a relatively average $955 bump from the previous model year. All of them for every manufacturer are going up right now, thanks to inflation, of course. But anyways, regardless of trim level that you go with, the power plant on the Tiguan is going to be the same. Powering the beast is a 2-liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder, putting out 184 horsepower at 4,400 RPM, 221 pound-feet of torque, coming in at 1,600 RPM. Power sent to front wheels or all wheels through an 8-speed automatic. 0 to 60 time coming in at approximately 8.1 seconds, with MPG numbers coming in at 23 in the city, 30 on the highway for the front-wheel drive, 22 city, 29 then on the highway for the all-wheel drive, taking regular unleaded fuel. So before we do any kind of fun acceleration or anything like that in the Tiguan, I wanted to mention to you guys the drive modes. So there is a circular dial located directly behind the shifter, which will give you both on-road and off-road drive modes. So the way that works is the on-road drive modes, you're going to simply just press the button in the middle of the circular dial. For the off-road drive modes, you're going to turn this dial to the left and to the right. That's how you adjust them, but they're going to include normal, sport, eco, and individual. But then the off-road drive modes are going to include snow and a couple off-road modes as well, ultimately adjusting things like the shift points, throttle response, steering sensitivity, climate control settings, and the all-wheel drive system engagement then as well. So actually quite a bit, a little bit more than most other manufacturers. So that's pretty cool. But anyways, now having got all of that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and press that center button there. I'm going to put it in sport driving mode. Let's put this thing here to the test and let's see how quickly we can get our new 2023 Volkswagen Tiguan here up to speed. Keep in mind, it is raining out, so let's see. All right, in 3, 2, 1, kick it. No slipping. Yeah, that's not bad. We're going uphill too, but yeah, that'll definitely get the job done actually. That's not horrible. I mean, it's not the quickest thing in the world. 0 to 60 in 8.1 seconds is certainly not by any means fast, but like I said, that'll be enough to get you merged onto the highway or anything like that. Quite honestly, I personally wouldn't have any issues with that acceleration. But anyways, to go along with that acceleration, as always, braking is equally important. And so up front, you will find 13.4-inch ventilated front discs. In the back, 11.8-inch solid rear discs. As far as that 6 or stopping distance goes, it's going to come in at 126 feet, which is kind of a little bit below average as far as that stopping distance goes. But as far as braking feel goes, I think I said this last year, it's on the firmer side of things. So the braking feel itself feels really, really nice, quite honestly. So for that reason, for me, the number doesn't matter as much as the braking feel itself. And the braking feel is quite good actually in the Tiguan. So I'm just gonna throw the number aside because it's according to Motor Trend, by the way. So the braking feel is brilliant. But anyways, then touching on suspension and handling, up front you will find the McPherson strut front suspension. In the back, independent multi-link rear suspension, of course, front and rear stabilizer bars. As far as ride quality goes, it's been perfectly fine on my short test drive here today, but Hanover roads are pretty bad as well. So honestly, it's not that bad. So I don't have any issues, but I will say the steering feel adjusts substantially dependent upon the drive mode that you put it in. So I'm going to put it in sport again, and it does change the gauge color as well. I'll show you guys the digital gauges in a little bit, but it is a much heavier weight to the steering that I love in that sport driving mode. But the second you take it out of sport driving mode, put it in eco or normal, it is so loose, such a loose steering feel, not a whole lot of driver feedback. So Another cool thing though about the drive modes is there is that individual driving mode, so I could choose to configure it to that heavier steering feel without the instant acceleration all the time, which is probably what I would do if I were to get the Tiguan, because the heavier steering feel is wonderful in the Tiguan, so I'll just leave it at that. But then touching on cabin noise, we are going 40 miles per hour right now. Quite honestly, cabin noise really isn't all that bad. Get a little bit of rain noise right now because it's raining out, but other than that, it's pretty nice. Then touching on visibility, I can see pretty darn good out the back, and this second row headrests are not horrible, and this is a smaller SUV, so you really shouldn't have any issues with rear visibility. But did want to also mention though, rain sensing windshield wipers are going to come on the SE trim level and up, so that is pretty darn cool. So on days like today, essentially whenever the Tiguan detects any kind of mist or rainfall, it's going to automatically turn on those windshield wipers for you, so it's just one less thing you got to worry about, so little convenience feature there as well. But anyways, that about rounds out the performance segment of this review, you guys. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the exterior of our brand new 2023 Volkswagen Tiguan. All right, so here she is, you guys, the new 2023 Volkswagen Tiguan with the lake in the background. Looks absolutely amazing. I love this spot. But anyways, platinum gray metallic is the name of our exterior color, in case you were curious. And taking a look at the VIN, just to cover where it's made real quick, the VIN starts with a 3, meaning this one is built and assembled in Mexico, in case you were curious. But as always, let's go ahead and start up front. This one was recently refreshed for the 2022 model year, so as far as exterior looks go, pretty much everything is carried over from that model year. Illuminated front grille though, coming with the SEL R line trim level, not the black that we have today, the SEL, not the SE. So did want to mention that. One more trim level up and we would have got that, so that's pretty cool. Our logo found in the front grille though, you guys can see that. I'll get a little bit up close so you guys can take a look at that, kind of on the passenger side up front there. So that definitely looks pretty good. And that's going to come on both R-Line trim levels, of course. You do get some gloss black accents for the R-Line black that we have with us here today. So that definitely looks good as well. To the sides, LED headlights do come standard with LED daytime running lights. That's going to come for all trim levels, by the way. Gotta like that. Automatic headlights, of course, meaning when it starts to get dark out at night, those headlights will turn on automatically for you there. But you also get adaptive front lighting for the SEL R-Line trim level. So essentially what that is when you're going around a bend at night, those headlights are going to swivel based on the direction of your steering angle, better help illuminating what is around that bend. So you're less likely to hit a deer or a possum or a cyclist or whatever. So that is a pretty darn cool little feature there as well. Most vehicles don't have that, so big fan. But anyways, that pretty much rounds out the front end of the Tiguan. So now go ahead and make our way to the side. All right, so now starting up top, roof rails are going to come standard for all trim levels across the board. Gotta love that. Taking a look at the window surrounds, they're either going to be finished in chrome or black, depending upon the trim level that you go with, of course. You do get some R accents found on the front fender there. That is pretty cool, and that's of course going to come with the R-Line trim levels there. Taking a look at the side mirrors, they are either going to be body colored or gloss black side mirrors, again, dependent upon the trim level that you go with. We got the gloss black, of course, because of the SE R-Line black trim level here. They will be heated though for all trim levels across the board, and you will also get LED integrated turn signals as well. So that is pretty cool. Take a look at the side skirts, because this is always one of my pet peeves. Matte black side skirts are going to come with the non-R-Line trim levels, and that's going to be matte black fender surrounds as well. But if you go with one of those two R-Line trim levels, you will actually get body colored side skirts, and that of course is what you guys are looking at right now, and it looks dang good. Love the side profile here just because of the side skirts. I know it sounds weird, but anyways, and take a look at the wheel setup. 17-inch alloys for the S, 18-inch alloys for the SE, 19-inch alloys for the SE R-Line black, and lastly 20-inch alloys then for the SEL R-Line. So wheel configuration is going to differ in size based off the trim level, so interesting. But anyways, so I'll go ahead and make our way to the back. All right, so but now since we are around to the back, you will find a gloss black shark fin antenna all the way to the top there. Just below that, rear spoiler with an integrated brake light. Just below that, rear window wiper. LED taillights though, coming standard for every single trim level across the board. Gotta absolutely love that. Got the Tiguan lettering spelled out horizontally, of course, but scrolling all the way to the bottom here, you will find some fake exhaust outlets. Kind of they're like cutouts where you would think the exhaust would be, but the real exhaust outlets are actually tucked away underneath. I'm not going to get any lower here because it is super wet and messy here, but anyways, they are tucked underneath. So having said that, I do believe you guys know what we have to do next. Is always here is that exhaust clip. Alright, so now since we are around to the back of the Tiguan, when it comes to opening that rear tailgate, it is a hands-free power tailgate for the SEL R-Line trim level, so only the very top trim, but power tailgate is going to be available for all of the other trim levels, although we don't have it today because it is a manual lift gate otherwise, so that's what we got. But anyways, once opened up, like I said at the beginning of the video, there is an available third row. We don't have it today, but again, it is available. Behind that third row, cargo capacity comes in at 12 cubic feet. Behind the second row, 33 cubic feet. And with all rows folded for the 3-row configuration, 65.3 cubic feet. And you notice I emphasize that because if you go with the 2-row configuration, you actually get a little bit more cargo capacity coming in at 73.4 cubic feet. So about 8 cubic feet more with the 2-row configuration, which is what we have today. So I did want to mention that. But anyways, a lot going on in the cargo area, which I was a big fan of. LED cargo lighting. You typically find halogen lighting back there. You also get a cargo cover. There's plenty of grocery bag hooks. There's a little bit of storage found in the 2 corners back there. There's a 12-volt power outlet to my surprise as well. That was pretty cool. Then if you were to lift up underneath of that cargo floor, you are going to find a spare tire with a little bit of kind of storage around that spare tire. So you could probably put an ice scraper back there if you live in Pennsylvania like myself here. But anyways, then making our way up to the rear legroom in that third row, I'm just going to come in at 27.9 inches, which by the way is a little bit less than my old Ford Mustang GT, so do want to mention it's probably not going to be all that usable, but second row legroom comes in at 38.7 inches, which is plenty usable. For reference, I'm an even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I had back there. Rear ventilation does come standard. There is a phone charging port back there, a 12-volt power outlet if you go with the SE trim level and up. There is also a rear center armrest with cup holders for those rear passengers then as well. And there's actually a couple coat hooks back there, which is always convenient. But anyways, then making our way up to the front seats, manually adjustable cloth seats coming with the S, 8-way power driver's seat with 4-way power lumbar for the SE trim level and up. You will get VTEX leatherette seating for the SE trim level and up, heated seats coming standard for all trim levels across the board, ventilated front seats then coming on the SEL R-Line. And so overall, when it comes to seat comfort, honestly wasn't that bad. I personally didn't have any issues, so definitely plenty adjustable power lumbar as well. And again, the heated seats on this cold day here in Pennsylvania, I was definitely a big fan of them. I'll just put it that way. Then take a look at the steering wheel. This is one of the things I love and don't love about the Tiguan, and here's why. So it is tilt and telescoping, but it doesn't telescope out all that far. So I'm not a fan of it for that reason, because if you're a taller adult, like I said, I'm 6 foot tall, you therefore have a little bit longer legs, so you have to put your seat back more. So if the steering wheel doesn't telescope out as far, it doesn't give you that perfect driving position necessarily. So I wouldn't have minded if Volkswagen allowed it to telescope out a little bit farther for taller adults. Again, if you're not that tall, this is going to be perfect for you. I'll just put it that way. But leatherette wrapped for the SE trim level, and then leather wrapped for the R-Line trims. I love that. I love the flat bottom to it here in our R-Line trim level and the little R insignia, but I really love the kind of perforated steering wheel on the left and the right, and the 10-2 grips are massive, almost BMW M-like. So I am a huge fan of the grips on this steering wheel. Volkswagen did a wonderful job with them. But anyways, then make our way to the startup. Let me start by showing you guys the key here. You got your Volkswagen logo on the one side. Then when you flip it over, lock, unlock, and that button to pop the rear tailgate there, or unlock it in our case. ×2 button is going to be your remote start, but it is all keyless entry with a push button start here. So all I'm going to do here is simply put my foot on the brake and press that silver engine start button, which for whatever reason is tilted slightly to the right. That is awkward. Why did they do that? Once started up, gauge cluster, there's going to be 2 of them actually. So you get an 8-inch digital gauge cluster coming standard for all trim levels, but that top trim, the SEL, because that one is going to give you a 10.25-inch digital gauge cluster. But either way, they look dang cool, I will say that. And like I mentioned earlier, they do adjust dependent upon the drive mode that you put it in. So if you were to put it in the sport driving mode, everything is going to turn red. If you were to put it in eco, it's going to kind of turn like a cyan color, and then normal is going to be a royal blue. So they will adjust slightly dependent upon the drive mode. I think that's pretty cool, but basically digital gauges look absolutely wonderful. You can also press the view button on the steering wheel itself. That will completely change the look of those gauges up there as well. So Again, I don't think Volkswagen can get a whole heck of a lot better at this price range for what they're giving you with the digital gauges. So it looks absolutely wonderful. You got how many miles you have left until you hit empty, outside temperature. The list goes on. Everything you could possibly want up there, basically. Then taking a look at overall interior quality, there is a panoramic sunroof for the R-Line trim levels. That's what you guys are looking at right now. I love that. Auto-dimming rearview mirror with HomeLink controls are going to be available, and that's a frameless rearview mirror with a compass in the upper right-hand corner as well. That's what you guys are looking at. Again, I love that as well. 15 colors of ambient lighting are going to come on the R-Line trim levels. Big fan there. Dual zone climate control is going to come standard wireless phone charger coming with the SE trim level and up, and that's going to be located directly in front of the shifter with a rubberized bottom, so big fan of that. Illuminated door sills then coming with the R-Line trim levels. Gotta love that as well. There's also a little bit of rubberized storage found just above the upper air vents here. I was a big fan of that, so you can put something there so it doesn't slide around. I like the white contrast stitching found on the doors. There's kind of this carbon fiber look as well that continues just above the passenger side glove box. That's very nice. Just in front of the shifter, you have a 12-volt power outlet, couple phone charging ports. To the left of the shifter, you got your electromechanical parking brake. Behind the shifter, you got dual cup holders, a little bit of storage there. And within the center armrest, a little bit of storage there. It is pretty deep storage, but it's not all that big. But anyways, now making our way to the infotainment screen, there is a 6.5-inch color touchscreen display coming with the S, then an 8-inch color touchscreen display coming with the SE trim level and up. That's what you guys are looking at, of course, right now. Bluetooth and audio streaming coming standard either way, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay as well. But if you were to go with that 8-inch screen, you actually get wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. The majority of manufacturers of vehicles out there still aren't offering wireless Android Auto. Most of them are getting wireless Apple CarPlay now, but not the Android Auto. And I got my Android phone, so I love that. So big fan. But anyways, factory navigation system coming with the SEL R-Line trim level. Of course, you can check out your radio information up there as well. And so the standard sound system is going to be 6 speakers. But if you were to go with that top trim, the SEL R-Line, you're going to get a 9-speaker Fender sound system. So that, of course, is not the one we have today. We do have the 6-speaker sound system. So what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and turn on the radio, see what we got playing today, and let's test out the clarity of this one. Honestly, not bad. Now, not a whole lot of bass, but the clarity was actually better than I expected for a 6-speaker sound system. So quite honestly, it's not horrible. I don't mind that. If you wanted a better sound system, you got it with the SEL. So anyways, last thing I wanted to mention to you guys on the infotainment screen is when you do put the Tiguan in reverse, you will find a rear view camera coming standard across the board, letting you know what is behind you, which is always going to lead us into safety. And so to start, IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus, which is the very highest designation given by IIHS, so that pretty much says it all right there. Front side curtain airbags do come standard. In the back, you're going to have latch, aka lower anchors and tethers for children for the rear car seats, rear child door locks, tire pressure monitoring system, but also coming on the SE trim level and up. So this isn't going to come on the S, but SE trim level and up is going to give you forward collision mitigation system, blind spot monitoring system with rear cross traffic alert, autonomous emergency braking, adaptive cruise control, and then lane keep assist as well. So overall, when it comes to my final thoughts here of the Tiguan, the fact that ambient lighting is offered, I love that at this price point. Digital gauges, they did a wonderful job with them. Not only do they change colors, but you can completely change the look of them as well. So well done, Volkswagen there. Wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, of course, but that's something you typically don't find on other manufacturers right now as well, so big fan of that. As far as room for improvement goes, there are some hard plastics found right around the shifter, so not a huge fan of that, but it's kind of to be expected for this price point, quite honestly. And the only other thing I can think of is that the steering wheel doesn't telescope out as I personally would want it to, being a taller adult, I guess you could say, so that's all I could say. But anyways, let me know what you guys think of the Tiguan in the comment section. 2022 BMW X1, courtesy of Apple BMW in York, PA. For more information on their inventory, please feel free to check out the link in the description box below. We are in this one today because this is a BMW that starts in the mid $30,000 range, which is pretty remarkable in itself. But not only that, you do get 3 years or 36,000 miles of complimentary maintenance with this as well, and really any BMW for that matter. But ultimately in this video, we will be testing out and going over everything about this one, from acceleration to braking, steering feel, ride quality, sound system, exhaust clip, all that fun stuff. So, but having said all that, as always, let's start with pricing. And so there are 2 different configurations for the X1. First one is the S Drive 28i. That one starts at $35,400. Then there is the xDrive 28i that is going to start at $37,400. But so regardless of which configuration that you go with, the power plant on the X1 is going to be the same. Powering the little beast is a 2-liter twin power turbocharged inline 4-cylinder, putting out 228 horsepower at 5,000 RPM, 258 pound-feet of torque, coming in at right around 1,400 RPM. Power sent to front wheels or all wheels. That was the S drive as the front wheel drive, X drive being the all wheel drive, of course. Through an 8-speed automatic, 0 to 60 time is going to come in at 6.6 seconds for the front wheel drive, 6.3 then for the all wheel drive, so a little bit quicker there. MPG numbers coming in at 24 in the city, 33 on the highway for the front wheel drive, 23 city, 31 then on the highway for the all wheel drive. But before we do any kind of fun acceleration test here in our X1, I wanted to mention to you guys the drive modes. There's actually some drive mode buttons located just to the left of the shifter. They will include Eco, Pro, Comfort, and Sport, adjusting things like the shift points, the throttle response, and the steering sensitivity. So now having got all of that out of the way, what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and throw it in that sport driving mode. Let's put the acceleration here to the test. I'll give you guys a disclaimer here. It is raining. I got my automatic windshield wipers on, so that's a pretty cool feature on this thing as well. But nonetheless, it is raining. Hopefully we get some decent traction, and let's see how quickly we can get our new X1 here up to speed. All right, so I am in sport driving mode, and here we go in 3, 2, 1, off we go. Nice. Love the quick shifts. Definitely not gonna have any issues emerging onto the highway. And actually, grip wasn't that bad either. There was a smidge bit of turbo lag, ever so slightly, but still, that was a very impressive acceleration. It did feel very quick, so 100% not gonna have any issues with merging onto the highway. But anyways, to go along with that acceleration, as always, braking is equally important. And so 4-wheel ventilated disc brakes actually do come standard. As far as that 60 to 0 stopping distance goes, it's gonna come in at 122 feet, which is pretty on point, pretty average for the segment there. As far as braking feel goes, it's excellent. That's one of the things I said when I first got in this one. It feels perfectly fine. There's no dead spots or anything like that. So braking feels 100% on point as well. Touching on suspension and handling, up front you're going to get an independent strut type front suspension. In the back, independent multi-link rear suspension, front and rear stabilizer bars, gas pressurized shock absorbers. As far as ride quality goes, it's actually really nice. Honestly, for a smaller SUV, you typically tend to feel a good bit more of the road, but with this one, it absorbs a lot of Pennsylvania's road imperfections quite nicely. It's not going to be as smooth as a 7 Series or anything like that, but it is doing quite well, I will say that. So I'm pretty impressed there. As far as steering feel goes, that's always the first thing I notice when I get an X1. I think a couple years ago when I reviewed this one again, I noticed the same thing. It's a very heavily weighted steering feel, which is a good thing. I personally prefer that. It gives you better driver feedback, instantly pointing you in the direction that you want to go. So if anything, the steering feel on this is wonderful, especially compared to a lot of its competitors. I think I've always been a fan of the steering feel on the X1, so that's definitely very nice. As far as cabin noise goes, there isn't a whole lot of exterior wind noise or road noise really coming into the cabin. There's a little bit of rain noise because it's raining, but other than that, it's really not all that bad, so no issues there either. Touching on visibility, I can see perfectly fine out the back, so shouldn't have any issues there. And of course, rain sensing windshield wipers do come standard. We have had them on, and actually is lighting up the windshield wiper stalk here in green. It says auto, so that tells you that you got your rain sensing windshield wipers on, and it is doing a wonderful job here as it is still raining in PA. I think it's going to clear up here in a little bit, but anyways, head-up display is also going to be available with what's called a Premium 2 package that goes for $4,100. By the way, we do have that package, so I am right now looking at an illuminated speed as well as the speed limit. It's also going to project safety features up onto my windshield as well, so that's going to assist with visibility yet again. But that pretty much rounds out the performance segment of this review, you guys. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the exterior of our brand new 2022 BMW X1. All right, so here she is, you guys, the new 2022 BMW X1, finished in Phytonic Blue Metallic, if I even said that right. But that is our exterior color that we have on our X1 here today. Let's go ahead and start up front on this one. BMW active kidney front grille, of course, coming standard in typical BMW fashion. To the sides, halogen headlights actually do come standard. They come with the automatic feature, of course, meaning when it starts to get dark out at night, those headlights will turn on automatically for you there. LED daytime running lights, also coming standard. LED headlights with the cornering function coming with the Premium 2 package. So that's actually what we have today. And the cornering function is actually pretty cool. Essentially what that means is when you're going around a bend at night, the headlights are going to swivel based on the direction of your steering angle, better help illuminating what is around that bend, so you're less likely to hit a deer or a squirrel or whatever the case. So that is pretty cool. It's a nice little safety feature. I did want to also mention though, there is an M Sport package. It goes for $4,350. That really gives you a completely different look to the X1. Get a lot more body colored accents on the front, on the sides, on the back as well. A lot more gloss black exterior trim. Essentially all the aluminum trim that we have on our X1 here today is going to be replaced with gloss black, in case you were curious about that. And also M specific wheels, and you get some fog lights down below in the front corners of that front fascia then as well. So quite a bit of changes with the M Sport that we don't have today, so I'm not going to mention it too much after this, but did want to mention it from the get-go. So we do have the aluminum trim found on the lower portion of that front bumper, the front lip there. Otherwise, it is going to be body colored if you go with the M Sport, just for a simple example there. But anyways, that pretty much rounds out the front end of the X1. Let's now go ahead and make our way to the side. All right, now since we are around to the side of this one, you're either going to get aluminum or gloss black roof rails all the way to the top, aluminum or gloss black window surrounds, of course, depending upon which configuration that you go with. Rear privacy glass is going to come standard across the board, so that's pretty nice. Body colored power adjustable side mirrors do come standard. They will be heated as well with LED integrated turn signals, as you guys are currently looking at there. Matte black or body colored side skirts, and you do get some of those aluminum trim accents if you don't go with the M Sport like we have today. Taking a look at the wheel configuration, 18-inch Y-spoke alloys coming standard. I actually love the wheel design that we have here. It looks really, really good. 18-inch M-specific alloy wheels then coming with the M Sport package. But that pretty much rounds out the side profile. Let's now go ahead and make our way to the back of the X1. And so, but now since we are around to the back of this one, all the way to the top, body color shark fin antenna, just below that rear spoiler with an integrated brake light, just below that rear window wiper. Of course, you have the X-Drive badging found on the rear liftgate there. If you were to go with the X-Drive configuration, of course, all the way to the bottom, you're either going to get, again, aluminum trim accents on the bottom portion of that rear bumper, or body colored accents if you were to go with the M Sport. But to the sides, dual exhaust outlets with very thick chrome tips. Probably some of the thicker tips that I've seen in a while. But anyways, as always, here is that exhaust clip. All right, and so but now since we are around to the back of the X1, when it comes to opening that rear tailgate, it is actually a hands-free power tailgate coming standard across the board, which is pretty cool. There is a button on the key fob as well. There's a button on the tailgate itself, and there's a button on the driver's side door then as well to go ahead and open that up. But once opened up, cargo capacity is going to come in at 27.1 cubic feet. If that was not enough space, those rear seats, of course, do fold down, bumping that up to 58.7 cubic feet. There is a 12-volt power outlet you can find back there. There is some cargo lighting, of course. There's also some grocery bag hooks, which is pretty cool. You have a little bit of indented storage there to the left. You have a little bit of netted storage then to the right. And then if you were to lift up underneath of that cargo floor, you will find actually a decent amount of in-floor storage, more so than I usually find on other SUVs. So considering the size of the X1, the fact that it has this much in-floor storage is pretty darn cool. You can fit an ice scraper back there, maybe a tire inflator kit, and all kinds of other things. So pretty nice. I like that. So then making our way up to the rear legroom, that is going to come in at an even 37 inches. So for reference, I'm an even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I have back there. Rear ventilation, of course, does come standard. Just below that rear ventilation, you will find 2 phone charging ports. Rear center armrest with cup holders then also coming standard for those rear passengers. But let's now go ahead and make our way up to the front seats. 8-way power driver's seat does come standard. Sensitech upholstery is going to be the standard finish for all the seating. But I will say there is Dakota leather available that goes for $1,450 if you wanted to go that route. Heated front seats as a standalone option go for $500. It's also included in some of the package options. We do have those heated seats, so definitely very nice on this colder-ish day here in Pennsylvania. Overall, as far as seat comfort goes, since we have the power lumbar as well, definitely plenty adjustable, so no issues with the seat comfort in this thing. Then taking a look at the steering wheel, it is tilt and telescoping. The 10 and 2 grips are pretty darn nice as well, and it does come leather wrapped across the board as well, which is pretty nice. Then making our way to the startup, let me start by showing you guys the key here. All of your buttons essentially are located on one side of the key. You got lock, unlock, and the button to pop the rear tailgate there. But by the way, the lock button is going to be the BMW logo. If you are unfamiliar with BMW, that's the way they do it. But ultimately, it is all keyless entry with a push button start. So all I'm going to do here is simply put my foot on the brake and press that engine start button located just kind of underneath and to the right of the gauges. And so speaking of, upon startup, speedometer is all the way to your left, tachometer is on your right. There's a very small digital display front and center towards the bottom, giving you things like how many miles you have left until you hit empty, trip A, trip B, outside temperature, your basics basically. So essentially you're really not going to need too much more than that. Touching on overall interior quality, there is a panoramic moonroof that comes with the M Sport, and also the convenience package for $2,250. If you did not have the M Sport, we do have that panoramic moonroof. So essentially it's a dual pane panoramic moonroof, so the rear passengers kind of get their own as well, so that's pretty cool. Anthracite headliner coming standard, auto dimming rear view mirror with homelink controls for up to 3 different garage doors, and that's found of course just underneath of that rear view mirror, so that's pretty cool. Ambient lighting coming with the Premium 2 package, so we do have that, and I'll be able to show that to you guys here. Dual zone climate control coming standard, meaning both driver and passenger can set their own temperatures. I do love the wood trim here. You can find that on the doors. It carries on just above the passenger side glove box, just below the infotainment screen as well, so that is pretty darn nice. I like the contrast stitching as well, just above the passenger side glove box. Also, just in front of the shifter, you have a 12-volt power outlet, USB charging port, little bit of storage, dual cup holders, an electromechanical parking brake, and within the center armrest, hey, we got a wireless phone charger. That's pretty darn cool, so that's where that's going to go apparently. And if you lift up that center armrest, that is where you're going to be able to have a little bit of storage right there. But ultimately, it's finished pretty darn nice. Like I said, I love the wood trim, the contrast stitching, the ambient lighting. Very nice interior quality here on the X1, so very impressed. But anyways, let's now go ahead and take a look at that infotainment screen I was mentioning. 8.8-inch color touchscreen display. Yes, it is a touchscreen, but there is a circular dial and buttons as well, located just behind the shifter, so really either way is perfectly fine. Bluetooth and audio streaming does come standard. Android Auto, Apple CarPlay as well. Factory navigation system actually also coming standard. That's pretty cool. You can adjust your ambient lighting settings up there. You can check out different driving statistics like average miles per gallon at any given time, and of course also your radio information. And so when it comes to the sound systems, there's 2 of them. The standard sound system is a 7-speaker hi-fi sound system with 205 watts. That's the one we have today. Then there's an optional 12-speaker Harman Kardon sound system that goes for $875 that gives you 360 watts, but again, we don't have that one today. So what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and turn on the radio, see what we got playing today, and let's test out our 7-speaker sound system that we have here today. Actually, not that bad, believe it or not. 7 speakers doesn't sound like a whole lot, but I think because of the size of this SUV not really being all that big, 7 speakers works great. Actually, a decent amount of bass with that hi-fi sound system as well, so quite honestly, I don't mind it. And actually the speaker covers are pretty darn cool as well. They're very heavy duty, found on the doors here. So actually a decent sound system here for the X1, even without it being the Harman Kardon. But anyways, last thing I want to mention to you guys on that infotainment screen at least is when you do put the X1 in reverse, you will find a rear view camera letting you know who or what is behind you, which is always going to lead us into safety. And so front side curtain airbags do come standard, but not only that, driver and passenger knee airbags as well. You typically don't get both of those. In the back, you're going to have latch, aka lower anchors and tethers for children for the rear car seats, rear child door locks, tire pressure monitoring system, but also coming standard, frontal collision warning, lane departure warning, speed limit recognition, and front and rear parking sensors as well. A lot of times rear parking sensors will come standard on luxury vehicles, but the front ones typically won't. There'll be a package option or an added option of some sort. But anyways, adaptive cruise control with stop and go and active driving assist, that is an option for $1,000, and you also have a parking assistant that goes for $200, where the car is essentially going to park itself. So but anyways, when it comes to my final thoughts here of the X1, very nice acceleration. I was a big fan of the acceleration. It shifted very quickly as well, so plenty of power in this thing. Good starting price point. Again, this thing starts at the mid $30,000 range. Having said that, there's quite a bit of options you could tackle on, but still, great starting price point nonetheless. Free complimentary maintenance is pretty impressive as well because it's 3 years, 36,000 miles. So a lot of manufacturers, I know Toyota I think does 2 years, but a lot of manufacturers don't do any of that. So that is pretty cool. Also, the steering feel, it's weighted definitely on the heavier side of things, which I personally appreciate, and I love the ambient lighting in this thing as well. So quite honestly, not a whole lot of negatives that I can think of. This thing pretty much has absolutely everything you could possibly want, maybe with the exception of some rear window sunshades, but that's really all I got. Let me know what you guys think of the X1 in the comment section below.